We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.
At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili and has been for nearly 100 years since we opened in 1923. We helped put Newcastle on the map as the hot dog capital of the world. Visit our store, place an order for pickup at mpconeyisland.com, delivery with DoorDash, or find the grocery store near you with our chili locator on our website. Want to own your own MP Coney Island? Now you can with our franchise system. At MP Coney Island, it's all about the chili.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Giantman Comics. I'm your host, Mark McConnell, and your co-host, Mr. Giantman himself, John DITHOMAS. And we have a special guest today with us that is going to help us out. His name is Jason Smith. And how are you guys doing today? You guys ready?
Long day today.
Long day? Yeah.
Long day.
Preparing for
it out. Yep.
So,
big exciting things in Newcastle.
So you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on in Newcastle tomorrow at
We set
Mahoney
up
Town?
40 to 50 tables. All the vendors, 90% of the vendors are there already.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already set up, ready to go. And it was just grueling, like moving the tables and everything. It's been nuts.
It's been nuts, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's tomorrow, November 2nd.
Second,
So
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock from 10 to 3, we will have the
correct.
very first Lawrence County Collectors Con at St. Marguerite's in Mahoney Town.
27 North Liberty.
27 North Liberty. So don't forget that. So yeah, you can come anytime between 10 to 3.
Absolutely.
Early bird special at 9, right?
9 a.m., $10 to get in. 10 o'clock, $5 to get in.
$5 to get in. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So we have some special guests tomorrow. We have some vendors.
Yep. We have some artists, some vendors, local, everything. I try to keep everything local.
Everything local.
Yep.
Beautiful. And then we have a really special guest coming
yes. Yep.
that's headlining.
Absolutely.
So I would like to introduce him now. He is a WWE Hall of Famer, best known as the Godfather. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Charles Wright, the Godfather. How you doing, sir?
What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
How are you?
How you doing, bro? Oh, man, look at that. That gets that white man's love.
That old white guy.
Can always take two.
Giant man.
Giant man.
Well, I tell you what, I thought I was dressed down, but you guys look like a bunch of bums. All right,
You got that right.
We are a motley crew. We have a face for radio and a voice for novels.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know. But Charles, the Godfather, it's an honor to have you here. I mean,
Wait. First of all,
yes.
Why you call me by my government name, Charles?
You don't want the
Nobody knows me as Charles. You call me Bear, GF, Godfather. Charles?
Charles.
They're going to be like, who the hell are you talking about?
Your real name, Charles, right? Yeah, but I mean, you know him as
See,
the
I already
Godfather.
got him.
He's already got
Only if you Google, you're going to know Charles Wright.
You know-
But if you don't do the Wikipedia, we all know him as Bear.
Thanks.
That's our guy.
Well, that's what I was picking up. We picked him up, from the airport. So, yeah, I mean, you did mention that a lot of the people that are close to you call you Bear.
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do they call you Bear?
When I played football, like in '82 at Reno, I got the name to handle Bear because back then we used to fight a lot, and people would say that when I fought, I would attack you like a bear. It wasn't no talking. It wasn't no hey. It was rah!
Just on.
And then I had the strength of a bear, and so
Yeah.
that's where I got the nickname.
Yeah. I mean, did people actually dared to mess with you at your size? I mean, that's impressive. I mean, that anybody has the
alcohol.
cojones.
I mean, we were already drinking
Yeah.
half a bottle of Jack today, you bunch of alcoholics. Jesus Christ, I had 10, 12 shots of Jack on the plane. I come here, as soon as I get here, I'm not going to tell you what else they gave me, but
There's nothing out of that
it's
thing
more
yet.
on the herbal essence. But Jesus Christ, they bought a 1.75 of Jack. I'm looking at the bottle. Maybe somebody can bring it up. Jesus, we drink like it's a half a gallon already. Look at this.
I would like to say we did not hit the halfway mark yet.
Look at this.
I mean,
This
the
is like
halfway mark is probably about
Shout out to Bob
here.
Schleich who bought the Jack.
this is like an hour in.
That's a lot. I mean, we did pretty good there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I have a
Not bad
feeling
for a half hour.
before we leave, it's going to be done.
Yeah.
And I think that there should be some shots of Jack up here.
Right.
But I could be wrong.
Did he get did he bring up the shot glasses or?
No, they're-
Look, he's turning around. Look,
I see movement back there.
There
I
is
think that's going
movement.
to happen.
we have more people than usual behind here,
Right,
helping us out tonight.
We got a big crowd.
We do, yeah. I mean, so they called you the Bear. People, I mean, obviously when you're drinking, yeah, it's easy to, kind of get into it with anybody. But I mean, it's just hard to imagine of your size. I mean, so like, I feel like your size helped you, become who you are. Like you have a big personality. You're a great talker. Like I love watching you on the mic when I watch clips, and and then you could handle yourself in the ring. I mean, and your journey isn't as usual as some. I believe it started somewhere in like 1987 with a movie or something like that.
It's kind of weird. This is going to sound weird, but I was never a wrestling fan. I'm 63 years old, and in the 70s when I grew up, roller derby was much bigger than wrestling, especially in the north, in San Francisco, the Bay Area where I'm from. So I grew up watching roller derby, not wrestling. And wrestling kind of just fell in my lap. They were filming a movie called Over the Top, and it was a Sylvester Stallone movie, an arm wrestling movie.
I've seen that, yeah.
And I was the manager, bartender, bouncer at a strip club called Crazy Horse in Las Vegas. And they were filming it at the MGM right down the street from Vegas. So Norton, the only name that I remember was Scott Norton, but there was a lot of guys that were wrestlers. And at that time, I'm a biker. I'm this big. I'm so much bigger than I am now.
Yeah, we saw that picture earlier.
Yes. And guys are like, you should become wrestler. You should become a wrestler. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And they're like, I'm telling you. And then somebody said, being a biker, somebody said, do you ever hear of Bam Bam Bigelow? And I'm like, the dude with the tattoos on his head? Yeah. And they're like, well, he made $1 million last year. And I went, wrestling? I became a wrestler.
There you go.
It piqued your interest.
Sign me up. I mean, I literally, they said that Bam Bam went to a place called the Monster Factory in New Jersey, Paulsboro, New Jersey. And so I made a call, and back then you couldn't just cell phone somebody
No
a picture
text,
of
no
yourself.
cell phone, right,
So he's like, Larry Sharp was the guy. Larry's like, if you get your way out here, there's nothing worse than somebody leaves their phone on, right?
There you go.
And so Larry Sharp said, if you get yourself out here, I'll take a look at you. As soon as I got off the plane, Larry Sharp was like, I mean, I'm a lot bigger back then than I am now. And so I went to school. Unfortunately, I never went to school that much. I was hanging out in strip clubs, hanging out with strippers. That's kind of what I do. And so I really never went to class. All I knew how to do was lock up. And for some reason, the day that I was there, they were doing drop-down toe holds. That's all I knew about wrestling was how to lock up. Jerry Lawler came to see me.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler hired me, not knowing anything about wrestling. My very first match ever, no practice matches, not knowing anything, was against Jerry Lawler in Memphis on a Monday night, and that's a big thing back in the 80s.
Wow.
And I beat him for the title that night as Soul Taker.
A Soul Taker.
So my very first match, I won a title.
Unreal.
And the only reason is Jerry said, do what I tell you to do. So the whole match, all I did is Jerry's like, put your chest up, do this, you're selling too much. I only did what Jerry Lawler told me to do.
You just followed his lead.
I
And
followed his lead.
Walked you right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a success. And was that with AWA or what was that?
That was in Memphis. I think it was called Memphis Wrestling, or it wasn't USWA, whatever it was before that.
Yes.
Memphis South, I think.
I think
right?
it was
Yeah.
Memphis South at the Coliseum.
And Soul Taker, is that, so that's like, because I saw some matches you tag teamed with Taker. And is that where you first met Taker?
I did my program with Lawler. Okay, after the program was done, they didn't know what to do with me because I was so green.
Right.
And so they said, we're going to bring this big, tall, redheaded kid in here to wrestle against you. And so Taker drove in from Dallas, Texas. He got there just in time for maybe 10 minutes before the match. I never met him. And at the time, I'm a biker, and I see this big white dude. I'm like, okay, here we go. And so we had probably the worst match in the history of wrestling.
Really?
And then after that, and Taker tells a story about it, but after that match, they made us a tag team.
I didn't know that.
And that's where me and him, we were called Death Express. And that was only about 3 or 4 months before he went to WCW as Mean Mark. And then I went to Germany and worked for Otto Wanz for a year. When I got done with Otto Wanz, I came back to the States. Taker was in WWF. Okay. So I got a tryout in the WWF, and they hired me. I worked as Sir Charles.
Yeah, I do remember
because
that.
we were in Phoenix, and they didn't know. They're like, let's put some heat on you. We're gonna, Charles Barkley wrestled there then. So they were going to call you Sir Charles. Vince hired me, and Vince says, I swear, Vince says, Charles, you got the body of a monster, but you have a baby face. He goes, we have to do something with your face. He goes, we're going to put you on payroll until we want you to keep training. We're going to put you on payroll. And then about 3 or 4 months later, he called me. He goes, Charles, I want you to rent the movie Live and Let Die. It's a James Bond film. There's a voodoo. I already knew the film. Mm-hmm. He goes, there's a voodoo character named, I think, Baron Samedi in the character. He goes, we're going to take off from that character. And he goes, most importantly, I want you to learn the laugh. He goes, and that's the, yeah.
How long did it take you to learn that laugh? It seems like it comes really naturally.
It came
to
pretty
you.
natural.
Yeah, you got the, yeah. That's awesome.
And so that's where we got it from.
You got it from that, just that.
So I went from a hardcore biker to a voodoo man.
Voodoo man. So was that a big switch for you, or did you love it? Or, I mean, like, was it?
It was hard for me. What was hard for me is the very first time that I did the match, Chief Jay Strongbow was the agent, and I came back behind the gorilla position, and Chief goes, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, what? He goes, you're a voodoo man. You're acting like you're a wrestler. He goes, I want you out there shaking and doing all that. So I had to go out there and do it again.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea. I mean, I'm telling you.
You had to really become a character.
I had to become a character, and then we got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
It got to the point, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
It got to the point where once I put the face makeup on, I wouldn't talk to you. Even if I was wrestling against you, I wouldn't talk to you. I would just sit in the corner. And I really would get into that dark side of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I mean, you committed to it, and,
Yeah.
and there you have it. I mean, that's definitely one of the bigger characters of all time. I think
Absolutely.
in wrestling, and well known.
Well, and it led to a good feud, you and the Warrior.
Yes,
I mean,
well-
that was a hell of a, that's my childhood.
People always ask me, they're like, what happened to Papa Shango? It's not the WWE at the time. I was going through a bad divorce, and I mean, how honest can we be on this?
Was this the New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
I married a stripper from Scores in New York, and can I say what I want to say?
Yeah, go for
Yeah, I
it.
think
Are you
we're all
sure?
right. Yeah.
I married her because she had big titties and a tight pussy.
One thing you will get with Bear is honesty.
You always get honesty. Undertaker was
He is
my
honest.
Undertaker was my best man, and she was a rat. And Taker's like, but he married a rat too. But he's like, what the hell? He was my best man. He refused to come to my wedding. And he was like, what are you doing? But back then, I had that biker mentality. And if you told me not to do it, I would do it just because you told me not to.
Right. Yeah.
And so that lasted a very short time, cost me a lot of money.
But
that's what happened to Papa Shango because...
oh wait, we got to look at this.
Here's
I think on the big titty conversation,
dude, I'm just being honest. You know.
Yeah, we're doing. There's one over there.
And so after
You gave me apple juice, right?
So
Yes.
yeah, apple juice.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
gotta
there
keep
you
it
go.
apple
professional.
juice.
Yes.
Apple
my-
juice for everybody.
That's my lie, apple juice.
Salute, salute.
Jeremy, thank you also.
Yes, thank you guys.
So after about 3 months, mind you, this is before I smoked marijuana, and I was on dude, back then I was on Somas, Vicodins, Percocets, Percodans, Vicodins, Halcyons, and we were taking this shit back then like it's vitamins and drinking a bottle of Jack.
Yeah.
So my mind was not right. And Taker knew that. But anyway, I married her, cost me a lot of money. I finally got out of it, but I was in such a bad place because I was like turning off my credit cards. Right. And because I was married to her, she'd turn them back on and buy her mom a trip to Hawaii. She'd do this. She would call the boys and say, hey, because I would check in under a false name because I didn't want to talk to her. Right. She would call the boys and say, hey, if you don't tell them to call me, I'm going to call your wife and tell her what you've been doing. Oh. And so literally, I'm going to let her go at this, but generally I was getting, this is before social media, and I'm literally getting and we're hanging out in strip clubs and biker bars and country bars. Yeah. And I'm getting in a real fight every night where Taker's pulling me off of people, and literally pulling me off of people.
Wow.
And then me, Vince, and Taker had a meeting, and we thought the best thing for Charles Wright was to take some time off. Because sooner or later I was going to hurt somebody. Yeah. So that's what happened to Papa Shango.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened to him.
So let's segue into the next chapter. What brought us into the return to WWF?
And I returned as Kama?
Kama. Yeah.
The thing about me is I owned a strip club called You Guys and Your Phones. Jesus Christ.
I still can hear him. It's like the most, resonant.
That's a ringtone.
Somebody asked me, where's your phone? I said, it's downstairs.
Yeah.
Well, where were we? The phone distracted me. Where were we?
You were coming back.
I was coming back. They would call me to come back, and I would say, no. Mind you, I was making money in a strip club. Good money. And I'm like, Vince, why do I want to come? I'm the general manager of the strip club that I own. Yeah. I'm making money. I'm looking at titties and ass all day. Right. Why do I want to come back and do that? He goes, we'll let you ride a Harley. And I'm like, you'll let me ride a Harley? Okay, so when Kama started, he was on a Harley. But back then, that was before Vince owned Titan. Okay. Titan motorcycle. He bought into that. Wow, okay. And that's when everybody got their own motorcycles. But before that, they had to rent them. Wow. And so they would show up with Sportsters and pink bikes, and I'd be like, I ain't riding that shit. And so Vince's like, no more motorcycles. And once Vince said no more motorcycles, guess what I said? Finish me up.
Finish you up.
And he goes, ah. So I think I did something with The Undertaker with the chain, and then I did something with Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam on the WrestleMania with the football.
Yes, you were part of that.
And then after that, I left. But that's what happened to Kama.
So then what led into the return to the Nation of Domination?
This is something. So they called me after a couple of years, like, we want you to come back. And I'm like, no. Dude, I'm looking at titties every day, and I'm getting paid. Why the hell do I want to get on the road?
You had that ability to tell
the
him
second
no.
time.
I tell him no all the time. And he goes, well, we want to bring back Papa Shango, and a lot of people don't know this. So I say, And so he goes, we'd like to pay you this for 3 years, which is a hell of a deal, and be Papa Shango. I'm like, well, for that, I'll come back. Yeah. So I show up to TV with a new look. I'm in shape, and a whole new, Jerry Lawler paints my face up. He's a hell of an artist. And then they go, Vince wants to talk to you. So they take my face off, and I'm like, well, I want to talk to Vince. I'm good friends with Vince. So what's up, Vince? He goes, Charles, change of plans. I go, change of plans? He goes, tonight we're going to put you in the Nation of Domination. Mind you, I'm supposed to be Papa Shango making my debut. He goes, we're going to call you Kama Mustafa. You and Ron Simmons are going to wrestle Undertaker tonight, and you're going to go over. And I'm like, you know what I said?
What'd you say?
I said, so do I make the same amount of money? And he goes, yes, you do. And I said, well, cool.
Yeah, you're in.
And then he goes, I will explain more next week, but let's get through this week. The following week, he came to us with the Rocky thing, and he goes, this is what we want to do. Do you know Dwayne Johnson? I'm like, I don't know who the hell that is. And then Ron knew. It was just me and Ron. And he goes, Ron knew who he was. He goes, well, we tried this with him, and it didn't work. He said, this time we're going to go this way. And I swear to you, Vince said this. And I don't know if he says this to everybody, but he says, once we get people to hate this kid, meaning The Rock, he goes, when I turn him, he's going to be the biggest thing wrestling ever saw. And that's what he told us.
And he was
right. And then we went to The Rock, and then The Rock didn't want to we wore those hats. He didn't want to wear the hat. He didn't want to do this. So me and Ron said, screw this motherfucker. If you don't want to be part of the team, then screw him. Right. So I think he put some, on his trunks, he put something, but he just refused to wear the hat.
And that was the era of the Rocky, right?
Yes.
Rocky,
but cool dude. I'm not in contact with him anymore, but when I knew him, cool dude.
Well, the
really
funniest
cool
skit you had is when they had the three diner table of three, and you guys were sitting down for dinner, and he sent you those gifts, and you got Ron again with the photo. Was that walk into that? I mean, how did that happen?
Seriously, I probably got there 10 minutes before the shoot, and I sat down. And so anything, and that's how a lot of this works, because they want it to be off the cuff. I sat down, and so whatever you seen happened then. I think it was me, Mark Henry, and Ron, right?
It was, yes.
And so whatever was live, it was not rehearsed. Whatever we said, I do so many things I don't remember. But yeah.
Were most of your promos, did you improvise a lot when you were doing a promo?
The thing is they didn't know what to do with The Godfather. And so I was allowed to just be myself. They would say, you have 8 minutes, 9-minute match. And it would take me so long. I would show up to TV, there'd be 5, 6, 7 girls, and depending on how much time I had, because it took so long to get the girls in the ring, do my thing, get the girls out of the ring, have some type of a match, and then bring the girls back in the ring.
Yeah.
So if we had a 7, 8-minute match, I could take maybe 3 girls out there, and maybe have a 2-minute match. But I went to Vince and I told him, Vince, when we did this whole Godfather thing, which was my wife's idea, not Vince's, I said, Vince, these people see enough wrestling. Just let me go out there and entertain them.
Yeah.
I'm like, just let me go out there and entertain them. Screw the wrestling.
So when you mention about not knowing to do with people, is that where the $1 Million Corporation came? They just had random guys that just didn't have a place? And
they had guys that they didn't know what to do with, Kama, Tatanka, Bundy, and they didn't know. They wanted to keep you on TV, but they had nothing for you. Oh. Like me and Val, me and D'Lo. They had nothing. At the end of The Godfather, they would just put people with me just so they can put them on TV. But it was kind of crazy because they just became kind of the Godfather show.
Yeah. So let's walk into that. Where did the Godfather start from? How did that come? Where did that come about?
I was in the Nation of Domination. The Rock now has gone on, and he's The Rock. D'Lo and Mark Henry are a tag team. They weren't doing nothing with me. Once again, wrestling was about having a good time for me. I was having a great time in the Nation. I didn't want to leave. My contract was coming up. And my wife was like, we got to do something where people just see you. Not an Ultimate Fighter, not a voodoo man, just see your high-ass crazy self. And she goes, once people see that side of you, it's gonna get you over. Since I worked at a strip club all my life, and I knew that, she goes, I wanted to be a mean pimp. I remember, Vince. I'll be honest. Me and Bradshaw, I'm wrestling Bradshaw. And we're going popcorn match. You guys know what that is? Popcorn match is the match after intermission. And it's just a wasted match to put people back in their seats from concessions. It's a filler. Right. So me and Bradshaw are beating the hell out of each other for 12 minutes and then just beating the hell out of each other and getting no reaction.
Wow.
And we used to say that people are sitting on their hands.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And no reaction. So one day I tell Bradshaw, let's try something different. I'm going to go out here and tell people I'm a pimp. I'm going to offer you some hoes. And I didn't even have girls.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm going to say right now in the back in a limo, I got 5 of the nastiest hoes you ever seen.
Take my word for it.
Take my word. And I know what type of freaky Southern boy you are. And so we went from no reaction to people going, take the hose, take the hose. And I'd be like, hey, man, they're telling you what to do. I'd like, it's my turn to win tonight anyway, so I'm going to beat you anyway. Take these hose.
Yeah.
So John would accept the hose, and then he'd start walking back, and people were happy, and then I'd start healing on the people. He'd turn around, and ref would buzz me. I'd turn around. Johnny would hit me with that lariat with my hat and everything on. I'd pop up and say, man, pimping ain't easy. And just like, and so we went from having no reaction to having them the whole time for 10 minutes. When we got to TV, Vince goes, Charles, I hear this might have some legs to it. Can you get me some girls? And I'm like, really, Vince, me?
Of
So
all
I
people.
grabbed me, Taker, and the Harris boys. You guys remember them?
Harris, yeah.
They were Ron and Don
Ron and
Harris.
Don, yep.
What was it, Acolytes?
Excellent, yeah.
And so we went to the strip club that we were at the night before, especially having Taker with us. We got some girls. We brought them back to TV. The first night that we put that on TV, it got over like Rover, bro. Okay. And I went from people not knowing who I was into the airport to walking to the airport going, Godfather, where's the hose? And that's where it started.
As it got over, as they say.
It got over right away. And we just went with it. Never scripted. They never told me what to say. They let me be me.
So one question I do have, and I know this is probably something you've been asked a lot, is the Blue Blazer match. You were involved that night. Can you walk us through, your thoughts of that? You were involved in that match.
I'm going to be completely honest. I talked to Owen, who was a hell of a guy, a friend of mine. I went to Japan for the first time. Owen taught me how to ride the subway, how to order food, how to get to the dojo. I went to Germany, worked for Otto Vons. Owen showed me the same. Owen was a great guy. I spent the whole day with him. I watched him practice it, and I'd never seen it. But and don't hold me to this, but I think Bruce Pritchard was at the gorilla station, and he was to come out first. And I was telling the girls my whole story that I always do of that, and then all of a sudden Bruce goes, Owen fell, and I'm like, Owen fell? He goes, Owen fell, and I'm like, Owen fell. And when they brought Owen back from the ring, he was already passed. He was blue. Wow. And I really, to be completely honest, I don't remember much about anything that happened after that. If the show ran, if the show didn't run. I called my wife after the show, and she tells me a lot of things that I said that I don't remember saying. But just a sad situation, man. Owen was such a good dude.
So I mean, they did finish.
Fantastic
So
talent.
I mean, there was a lot of controversy over the fact of they did finish the show. They finished the pay-per-view. So I mean, what was the move the next night on Raw? Do you remember that experience?
I think we were in Kansas City or someplace, and Vince posted up a bunch of matches, and he goes, if you guys want to wrestle, you can. If you don't want to wrestle, don't. So I was wrestling Road Dogg.
I remember, yeah.
And so I talked to him, and I'm like, do you want to wrestle? He goes, no. He goes, I don't want to wrestle. He goes, let's just go talk some shit and have some fun about Owen. So whatever I did that night, and I think it ended with, why don't me and you go to downtown St. Louis and smoke a fatty in honor of Owen, and that's what we did. We didn't wrestle. But just a sad situation. It's a dark side. It's just, he was such a good dude. I was a degenerate. I'll just be honest. I was a degenerate. Owen was a family man. He didn't drink. He didn't cheat on his wife. To wrestle Owen was like a pleasure, man. Because if you knew you were wrestling Owen, you could go 20 minutes, and it would be so fun. It would just be fun.
He's another guy that he could probably he takes over the mat. He was just so talented.
He's so overrated.
Yeah.
He had so much talent.
Yeah.
And he literally was one of the best workers out there.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure to work with him.
You almost wonder what he would have been today. I mean, I'm sure developing talent.
It's just if the show should have went on, I can't answer all that, man. I I really don't. All I can remember is seeing Owen come through the curtain, and I was devastated, man. And I called my wife after that. She said I was crying. I don't remember that. And she said, you told me a bunch of stuff that I don't remember saying. And just a sad situation, man.
Another sad situation, and I know you weren't involved in it at that time, but do you remember where you were with the Chris Benoit? I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you remember what you felt during that?
Actually, I do. Vince had just been blown up in a car, and everybody thought he was dead.
I remember the dead, yeah.
So they called me, and they said, we want you to do the eulogy. And we want you to start it off in a black suit and then rip it off.
Imagine that. Of all people, they'd love it.
They said, we want you to rip it off and say, but you know what? Vince was behind this, and this is a party, and we're going to have the host come out and do the whole thing. Don't hold me to this, but I'm sitting with Taker. Don't hold me to this. Taker, Vince, Triple H. Johnny Ace comes up, and don't hold me to this, and says something like, they found a note in the thing, and he's passed. And Vince said, send the police there right now. And that's all I knew. Then after that, they were like, they found out what happened, but they didn't know what happened. And they were going to people saying, hey, we want you guys to talk about Chris. And I remember Ron Simmons saying, hey, man, until you find out what happened, you might want to keep your mouth shut. And so I never said nothing because we didn't know. But another sad day.
Very
another
sad.
sad day.
Let's get back to the Godfather.
We need a shot.
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
Wow.
I
I didn't know we were gonna get this fucking heavy. Jesus Christ.
Hey, people want to know. That's a very heavy topic. But I will say,
it is.
Post your career, one of my favorite memories of you was after the wrestling career. The Teddy Long Crystal wedding scene. Was that ad lib? Can you tell us? I mean, where did that come from?
They would at that point. It was hard to get me on TV because they were PG.
Yeah.
So they would bring me out to weddings and stuff like that, and they would ask me to do a lot of things. I say, nope, I ain't doing that. Nope, I ain't. The thing about Vince, if you could tell him no and he still wants you, you're ahead of the game. And I used to tell him no all the time. No, I ain't doing that shit. No, I ain't doing that shit.
You played hard to get with it.
And so, what was it, Lillian Garcia?
Yeah.
They called me, and Michael Hayes called me. He's like, hey, Bear, we want to do something, put a little change in your pocket. I'm like, well, first of all, I got a lot of change in my pocket. I ain't hurting for money, so let's start this over. And he goes, well, we want to do this thing with Chris Masters, and he's doing a master lock. And last night he did Sergeant Slaughter. We want to do a thing where you come out, talk some shit, he talks some shit, and he puts you in the master lock, and you give up. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me? You're going to come to Vegas and clown me like that? I'm like, hell no.
So that was a hard no.
Yeah, like, no, I ain't doing that shit.
I feel like the WWE always tries to do that in people's hometowns.
Yes.
Like I don't know why they do.
A lot of people need money.
Okay, so they're.
I didn't.
Plus, they don't have to pay for travel if they're already
Yeah,
in your
and
town.
so,
I mean, that's convenient.
So I told him, hell no, I ain't doing that. So I had a little issue with Johnny Ace back then. And so I said, I'll do it. And they offered me, I'll be honest, they said, we'll pay you $2,000. I'm like, I want $5,000, and I want Johnny Ace to call me. So Johnny Ace called me, and we worked it out.
Johnny Ace is Johnny Laurinaitis, for people that don't know.
Not a friend of mine. And so we did it. But, yeah, it was like that. But I've told them no way more than I've said.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing because if you can tell them no and they still want you, you got them.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been under a WWE Legends contract, which pays very well, since 2003. Wow. I talked to Tito Santana, Sergeant Slaughter, and I think, because those guys both dropped off, I think I've been on a Legends contract longer than anybody.
Really?
Wow.
That's 21 years I've been on a Legends contract.
That's pretty amazing.
Which, yes, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of people that have been on Legend contracts, so to have that 20+
They're
years.
still making action figures. They're still making action figures. Anything that with The Rock and the Nation, with the Attitude Era, it's just, dude, I've been so blessed. And it's the gift. Oh, look at this. I'm serious. It's like my 20th shot today.
But who's counting?
I don't even drink.
Only the days in NNY.
What's this extra one for here?
mine.
Oh, there you go.
Giantman Comics
Sorry,
and
John.
Collectibles, huh?
How about we'll do
Salute.
Giantman. There you go.
Thank you.
Salute.
You guys, hey, you guys,
This is really good
I'm
apple
gonna be
juice.
taking my shirt off in a minute. Jesus Christ.
Hold on.
I think we have one lady in the audience. She might not. She might be happy with that. Right?
We got Erica
your
here
shirt
back
off.
there. As long as,
Like one lady in the audience would
Erica's
be.
here, I don't care.
So speaking of legends,
Mama's here.
they made that legend show. If they ever brought that back, would that be something you would? If they made that call, would that be a yes?
It's funny you said that.
See, look at that. Good segue.
Vince called. Vince, I'm telling you, Vince used to. Vince has some family member named Charles Wright. That's my name.
Wow, yeah.
And he would call me, and I'd see Vince, and I'd be like, "What's up, Vince?" He goes, "I did it again."
He called her, okay.
He's calling
And
you
then
his
he'd be
own
like,
family.
"Charles, since I got you on the phone," they were doing the. He goes, "Have you seen the Legends House?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen it." He goes, "We want to put you in there, and we want to mix you with Bob Backlund." And he says, "And we want you to be you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "That means smoking and everything?" He goes, "Yes."
Yeah.
And then he never did it. But he called me about
All-American
that.
Bob Backlund.
And I was
Can you
like,
imagine
can you
that?
imagine me? I had Bob Backlund doing all type of stuff. I would have had Bob
Definitely
Backlund with
bad
girls.
Could you imagine?
Right? Yeah.
That's worth the price of
I would
admission.
have corrupted the hell out of that Bob
Like
Backlund.
Opie Taylor, right?
He was when he ran for senator.
Don't
one
kid
time.
yourself though. Bob was out there, but not like that. Not like me, but
Now speaking
it just
of
never
Vince,
happened.
Speaking of Vince, and I know we talked about this prior. You haven't watched the show, the documentary yet. Have you heard anything about it? Have anybody reached out to you and said
I was
their
flying
thoughts?
home from New York a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, and somebody texted me and said, "Hey, watch season something, 1, episode something at 27:32, and you're on it from that point like 4 or 5 times." So I literally went to that, watched it, and said, "Cool," never watched it again. I don't need to hear about Vince. I know Vince very well. I know Vince from where there was no social media, no cameras, no social media, no cell phones, none of that. They only came out with beepers. And me, Taker, and Vince and other people used to go out every TV, man. For years we went out. So I know Vince very well. Love the dude. I put 5 kids that weren't athletes through college, bought a couple houses. And I know that whatever people think, this is what I know of Vince. He's been more than fair with me and my family, and he supported us through life. And to this day, he's still paying me. What he does on the side, believe me, if you looked at some of the shit I did on the side, probably why Vince liked me.
Right. Yeah.
But the last thing I
Absolutely.
said, I asked Taker a while ago about Vince, and this is what Taker said about me. He said, for whatever reason, Vince has got a special place in his heart about you. And that's what Taker told me. And
That means a lot. It has to be a
has to
lot,
be.
he
right?
said for whatever reason, he's got a special
Because, I mean,
place in
let's
his
be
heart
honest.
for
Everything
you.
Vince touched turned to gold. I mean, there's not many things that. he
Probably
didn't
because
do.
I was as nasty as he was.
Yeah. You just,
So what about the new era? I know you're not involved, but the new regime, Triple
I have-
H. What's your
You
thoughts
know what?
on
I'm
what they're?
very good friends with Triple H. I think he's doing a great job. I don't watch wrestling, nor have I watched it in 20 years. The only wrestling that I see is when I do wrestling shows. But nothing against wrestling. I'm glad that the boys have other places to make money. It's just I've moved on. I don't watch much
Absolutely.
TV.
So no current superstars have caught your eye or said,
No,
hey,
I
you know
don't
what, this one
watch.
looks
But nothing against it. I've made good friends. I've made money. I've made lifetime friends. It's just I've moved on.
yeah. I mean, you mentioned me earlier when we were, on our way back, that you remember Roman and the Usos. You remember them as
I remember
diapers.
I remember the Usos when their mom was pushing them in the double stroller.
Yeah. So,
I
yeah.
mean, but you mean,
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah. Look at
I
that.
think it's great. I talked to Rikishi's part of BSK. I talked to Rikishi. I'm like, he's like, my boys are killing it. I'm like, yes, they are, bro. God
Yeah,
bless
it's
you.
great. I mean, it's great.
Uh-oh.
They're doing well.
Oh,
Hey, well, look at that.
I'd rather have this than anything.
So let's talk about where did that start from, the BSK? Where did that come from?
As far as I
And people
remember-
that don't know, who was the members of it?
BSK was me, Yokozuna, Undertaker, Savio Vega, Rikishi, the Godwins, Mr. Fuji, Paul Bearer, and Crush.
Look at that lineup.
Wow.
Look at all them Hall of Famers in that lineup.
And
Not too bad, huh?
we were all just really good friends. During the day, we would play dominoes. And at night, BSK was mostly me, Taker, Yoko, because the other guys would go to strip clubs every now and then, but we went every night. We were just a bunch of close friends that watched each other's back. We weren't political, nor did the Clique. Is that what it's called?
Clique, yeah.
They didn't fuck with us at all, and which is cool. I'm friends with Scott, Kevin, Sean, X-Pac. I'm friends with all those guys too. So it wasn't a political thing with us. It was just a brotherhood. It was more like a biker brotherhood thing with us, that we watched each other's back and we hung out together.
Nice.
So can you share any stories? How about a best one?
Oh, I mean, Jesus Christ.
So many, I bet.
There's probably.
I'll tell you a Yoko story.
All right, that's what I'm saying. Yoko was
A lot of people don't know about me. I'm as redneck as they come. I know everybody thinks I'm this pimp dude, but I listen to country music, and I mean like 70s and 80s country music.
Some Johnny Cash
I
stuff.
chew tobacco. I ride a Harley. I drive a truck. I start thinking, I forget the question.
You're going to tell a Yoko story.
So when I met Yoko, we're driving. Back then we rent Cadillacs. Why are you laughing?
Oh,
I
no.
think he's getting the. Uh-oh!
So when I met Yoko, I'm listening to like Hank Williams Jr. and Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings, that type of shit. And so I'm in the truck and I'm chewing my tobacco, my Copenhagen, and I'm driving this Cadillac, and Yoko's over here, Taker's over here, and I'm either Paul Bear or Kurt Henning's behind me, and I'm just, oh my Rex, that's a Randy Travis or whatever. I'm singing a Hank Williams song, right? And Yoko looks at me, and back then it was cassettes, it wasn't tapes. Yoko looks at me, looks at the cassette, puts the window down, hits the cassette, throws it out the window. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing? He's like, yo, motherfucker, anybody ever tell you you black? He goes, because I don't think you know it. God bless him, man.
God
Great
bless his
dude.
soul.
But yeah, man.
Hey, you like what you like, though. I mean, it's just, it doesn't.
To this day, I am what I am.
Yeah, I mean.
I don't try to. I let that go out. That's a shame.
And you got to like portray it, in the ring as well. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Not many people get to be like as close to their true self as you did.
Right.
Like you said.
What I'm proud of is I made Undertaker his true self.
Yeah.
When I met Undertaker, he didn't drink Jack Daniels. You know what he drank?
What?
Rum and Coke with a lime. Know what it's called?
What?
Look it up. Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre.
He would go to a bar and order a Cuba Libre. I'm like, what?
Yeah, what is
So he
this?
didn't drink Jack. He listened to like Motley Crue, that hair banging mix.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand why he didn't listen to country music. He didn't have any tattoos.
Wow.
And most importantly, he didn't have a Harley. And I couldn't understand, being a biker, how this big white dude didn't have any of this shit. And so I basically introduced Mark to all this shit, and he ran with it. And I always tell him, he's like, bro, you have no idea.
Yeah.
I was not, the American badass is Bear.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just me being Bear, and it's so cool because once I opened his eye up to this different way of life, that I always tell him it was in you, and it just had to come out.
And you brought it out of him.
Yeah, and so a lot of what the Undertaker is hanging around with me.
You have some natural intuition, I feel.
Yeah.
And you've been close with Taker for what,
I met Taker in '87, and I love that motherfucker. Excuse my language. I love that son
all
of a gun,
gentlemen, go
and
ahead.
he is my best friend, and I love him, and I would take a bullet for him. He is my true bro.
I just have a lot of
That's
respect for him. He
amazing.
stayed loyal where easily he could have jumped ship to went to WCW and made more money. And he stayed with the company where it was a dark time. Where WCW, as we all know, the Monday Night Wars were beating him consistently. And I'm sure there was offers to him to come jump ship.
Yes, but they had him locked up. But I will say this. I'm going to toot my own horn. During the Monday Night Raws, we had what was called on the sheets, on the lineup sheets, we had Godfather segment. And it wouldn't even say who you're wrestling. It would say Godfather segment.
Wow.
And my segments against and I'm not the main event, mind you, but my segments would beat WCW every time. Where
Wow.
if people were watching WCW and the Godfather and the girls came out, they would switch over. And I mean, that is so cool to me, bro.
Yeah.
That is so cool to me.
I think we could argue you had like you're possibly the best mid carder of all time.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at
I'll go with that because I've
there's
been
something to
in
be said
main
about
events as
that.
Papa Shango and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I was a mid carder, but I was a mid carder over like a top guy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like you
Way
you know,
over.
Absolutely.
And it's just like a good supporting actor. Like
Yeah.
you put on a great performance in the middle of a show to keep it going and get people keep.
And I was happy with that.
And there's something to be said about that. I think it's
Ron Simmons used to say, "Not everybody can be Undertaker or Stone Cold Austin. You got to find your role and play it.
absolutely yeah.
And if you find your role, which I did with the Godfather, you'll get paid." But
So
no, I mean,
who were your favorite besides Taker? Who were your favorite opponents? The guys
to
that
wrestle,
Yeah,
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart, obviously.
Owen Hart, Taker. I used to love wrestling Taker. I wrestled Taker. Oh my God, I've been in so many caskets. I've been in that. When I die, they ain't put me in no casket.
You're over it.
No, they're gonna burn my ass and smoke me or something. But they ain't gonna.
Yeah, there
they
you
ain't
go.
gonna- I've been in caskets as Papa Shango, as Kama Mustafa. I've wrestled him as Godfather. I've wrestled him as Goodfather. And if I wrestled him 100 times, I got one win, and it was in a doubles 2 against 1 match.
Oh.
So I mean,
You never had the one-on-one win.
never.
Never.
Not too many people do.
Right.
No, I mean.
But I mean, that's not even an issue with me, man. That just, I literally was there to do a job. And when they put me in the Hall of Fame, I don't know if I should say all this though. I might need another shot of Jack before I say
Yeah,
it.
that's good. But since
Bring
before
that
we
bottle
go
over here.
there,
Bring that bottle
before
over
we go to that
But
story,
since Vince is on blast, I'll go ahead and
since
say
we
it.
are a collector's show
When-
tomorrow, let's talk about the collectibles. Do you have a favorite figure? Does one of these stand out to you more than
Honestly,
others?
I like, I think it's Hasbro. They came out with the very first Papa Shango
Yeah.
Hasbro.
The little one.
That's my favorite
And
because...
you were on Pawn Stars with the
Yes,
prototype.
yes.
Yeah.
That's my favorite because that was my first one. And if you've never had anything like that, bro, it's such an honor and a
I can
privilege.
imagine. I would.
When there's Stone Cold, there's the Hulk, there's the Hogan, there's Stone Cold, there's Undertaker, there's Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. It's hard back then before they had sales like they do on the internet. It's hard to get in there, and I got in there. I was lucky enough.
It's an amazing feeling.
Yes,
It's unbelievable.
To see you on the shelf.
Yeah.
Walking in the store and seeing you there. It's-
So yeah, man, I take nothing for granted. I love my career.
Right.
Don't give a shit about the wins or losses. I told Vince when they inducted me into the Hall of Fame, I was, and I always do this. I think it was Taker, Triple H, Vince, and somebody else. And I asked Vince, I'm gonna be honest. I said, Vince, I gotta know one thing. I said, how could I take 300 drug tests? You and I both know I was high every time I fucking took one, but yet I
One
never
color.
failed a
Never
drug
had an
test.
issue.
And I would smoke with you guys, and we would.
Or
They were
snitching.
hard on that shit.
Yeah.
They would fine you $3,000, and we would smoke, and you two would get busted, and I wouldn't get busted. And I used to tell people, I ain't stooging you off, but I'm just telling you, for
The
whatever.
reality.
Nobody ever told me I could smoke, even though nobody ever said, Charles, you can smoke. But they didn't screw with me. So I asked Vince, and he said, Charles, you did your job. You did it well. You did everything we asked you to do. He says, why would I fuck with you?
Right.
He goes, it was never a problem, which it was a problem. But
He likes
But you did your job.
like
You
that.
showed up and
But he
did what
said,
you
you
needed
ne-
to do.
and if they came to me and said, we want you to put China over, I'd be like, I had to put China over one time. And I didn't know what to do, so I went to Hunter, and Hunter came up with a match. But I looked at it different than most wrestlers. It was a job. And
Yeah.
what do you want me to, I mean, you're paying me a lot of money.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? And I would do it, even the RTC, and I hated
I was gonna say
I
you were gonna bring
hated
that.
the
I knew- I didn't wanna
RTC.
bring it up, but-
I hated it, and I even tried to do my best there. And you have no idea how much I hated that.
we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
And I remember how bad but you did your job. You did what you needed to do.
I did my
So
job.
what was like that? What was the phone call that you're going to the Hall of Fame? What did that mean to you? And what?
If
at
I
that
can
moment?
remember, his name was Mark Carano.
Yes.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Mark,
Producer.
and what people don't know is I'm at every WrestleMania every year. You might not see me on TV, but I'm doing autograph signings. I'm doing
The legends. They're in the Hall. Yeah.
And so Mark Carano called me. He's like, well, hey, Barry, you going to WrestleMania? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to WrestleMania. What the fuck? You know that. He goes, you're bringing your family? And I'm like, no, I'm just coming by myself. He goes, well, we want you to bring your family because Vince, this is the first time your name came up for the Hall of Fame, and Vince said, hell yes. He goes, so you're going to be inducted. And I'm like, oh, wow. And that's how the call came. I'm like, I never thought that. I said, if they ever put me in the Hall of Fame, they're going to have to give me a special category. So I am the only pimp in the Hall of Fame.
Perfect.
And you know what? People like the mid-card or whatever, they are still making money off of me, or my characters, and it's a privilege and an honor to be part of that. But they still make money off of me, and it's been over 20 years, and I'm telling you, sometimes I do wrestling shows. I don't wrestle, but I'll get in the ring and talk some shit, do my whole thing, and people to this day, over 20 years later, these kids weren't even born yet, but they'll say word for word, let me hear you say it. You know, they'll do the whole thing. And to me, that is so cool that this many years later, people still remember what you did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I tell you, come to meet him tomorrow. What you're seeing
Are we doing any more shots?
is Bear. This is the real
it's
guy.
right here.
Well, so you're pouring them.
I'll pull 'em. Pat,
I'll get these guys so drunk. You guys, you're going to love this. We're going to end up going 3 hours.
Well, speaking of collectibles, and I know you don't have any, what is some of the memorabilia you've kept over the years?
Unfortunately, I'm not a hoarder, and I don't sell stuff, but if you are my friend, I will give you stuff. So I have given away almost everything to people.
You gave me a hat, and I still have the hat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how I am. I'm not hurting for money. By no means am I hurting for money.
Sure.
So what am I going to charge you? $300, $400 for a hat, $200, $300? I'd rather just give it to you, bro. And if you're that much of a fan, and sign it to you and give it to you, because it's just really like $300, $400 are going to
So
make a
speaking of
difference
that,
in my
of an
life.
autograph, do you recall when people bring your merchandise and say, can you sign this?
I'll sign anything.
But can you remember, like, oh, I wore this vest
Yes.
at this time?
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you when you see that? Does that
Dude,
bring
I
you
am.
back?
gotta be a crazy feeling.
It's a great feeling. I am so humble. I do these things, and we talked about this earlier. I do this to get away from my wife's business because
Yeah.
she makes more money than me, but she works my ass like a dog. And so I thought, dude, I got to get away and just have some fun. So these things, to me, are just fun, and it's so cool because it's not like people don't like you.
Yeah.
It's like they like you.
Well,
so
they're coming out
it-
for you.
maybe you might have also the best work-life balance I've ever
Right,
seen from a
right.
wrestler. I mean, you know how to.
I am not your typical wrestler.
No.
You're not, absolutely not.
And the thing is I didn't need wrestling to make a living. I made a living in the strip clubs.
Yeah.
So wrestling for me was to be around a bunch of stupid, big-ass knuckleheads like me that like to drink, fight, and other things.
Yeah.
And that's how it was back then. So for me, it was like hanging out with all my biker buddies.
Yeah.
And it was just
You
fun.
weren't going to work.
No.
Right,
By
right.
no means. I was
Exactly.
going.
Exactly.
But you did it right, Bear, because I look at, for example, franchise. We were at a show that the guy he wrestled at his late age, in his 60s, and I'm thinking, what would make you still think that you need to do it? But then you realize he probably didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, so the experience that you did it right, you got out right, you got out the right time. What would you tell somebody who's trying to get into business? What would your piece of advice
You
to
know,
somebody's trying?
it's so different now, bro. When I came in, there was territories. You can go to Memphis. You can go to USWA. You can go to Smoky Mountain. You can go to Mid-City, Detroit. You can go to all these places and learn your craft. There wasn't these wrestling schools that they have now. But, you know, things are so much different. I don't want to be that old dude that says that. But I think it was I bring Undertaker up all the time. But when we talk, we never talk wrestling. And if we do, it's about Memphis days when we were starving and driving 200-300 miles to make $50.
Wow, yeah.
And
That's
somebody
the grind.
going to Wendy's, which was one of the first places to have a buffet,
Yeah.
and one going in and buying and leaving and giving the other one
Tagging it
a
up.
ticket.
Yeah.
And those are the times that we don't talk about the times where we were making money.
Right.
We talk about
The
those
grind
old,
coming
and
up.
it's just it's different now. I don't really watch. I ain't hating on nobody because people and times change, and they hated on me when I was Papa Shango. I was going to ruin wrestling. Okay, so I know what it's like. I'm just glad that all these people have an opportunity to make money, and that's all I
Yeah.
care about.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
I don't care if it's AEW, Impact. I'm just glad these guys are making money.
Right, right.
Yeah, gives them an opportunity to get on TV and showcase their talents.
Yeah,
'Cause you gotta be
wrestling.
talented.
I know Taker has some issues with the wrestling today, but I don't. I mean, people change, time change. I mean, if you're 7 foot now, if you're 7 foot 500 pounds, you probably can't find a job in wrestling.
Yeah.
Because
Era's changed.
times have changed, people have changed, the indie circuits have changed wrestling, which isn't
Yeah.
a bad thing.
The whole production's really
Yeah,
changed.
but none of it's bad.
No. I believe I was asked to ask if any of the people watching on Facebook have any questions.
Before we do the
Let's do
question,
that.
Oh, and the audience as well.
Well, let's
or
do.
the
You know what?
audience.
long
Let's
as
do,
Eric
let's,
is
let's
here,
do
I
this
don't
one.
care.
for
Oh,
Owen
not
Hart.
not Facebook.
Owen
The
Hart.
audience. Our live studio audience. that we
Yoko
have.
and Ono.
It's our first
Yoko
live
and
studio
Ono.
audience ever.
Thank you.
Yoko and Owen.
See that Jack's getting to you.
And not yet. Not yet.
It ain't easy.
It
hanging
takes a
with
lot
me.
more than that. He can tell you stories when we were doing zombies. I never even heard of that until he showed me these things.
Don't make me out to be an
Yeah,
alcoholic.
that's a different story, different day. Anybody have a question?
Come on.
I was wondering if you're going to show off that head of hair. You were talking earlier about.
Oh, sook it. Long story short,
Fair.
only time I can grow hair, a full head of hair, but I like to be bald, and I've been bald since I played football in the 1980s in Reno. Only time I had hair is when WWE made me grow it. When I was Godfather, the day that I finished, shaved my head off. When I was shaved my head off that night. Okay, so I've been bald, and my son said, my 25-year-old son, who's my youngest, he says, "You can't grow no hair no more." And I'm like, "Yes, I can."
Look at that. Look at that hair. I mean,
Solid.
Yeah. I have the same
look-
problem at home. My kids tell me that I shave. This is shaved. It's not going, but shaved.
So I just got a haircut a couple of days ago, but I can still grow hair. And actually, I'm digging it.
Yeah, it looks
I'm gonna
great.
take my hat off now.
Yeah, I mean-
I'm digging it because
embrace it because
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you're,
can
you're
still
blessed.
grow. I'm learning this wave thing. I'm trying to get some waves, but I don't understand.
It's been a,
Speaking of hairstyle, who came up with the Kamala hair, the Kama hair?
Kama,
Who
yeah.
did that? Where did that
creative.
come from?
Creative.
Yeah.
Creative came to me and they said, "We want you to grow this haircut." And then I went to my barber at the time and gave him the picture, and they shaved it that way.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maintenance on something like that too. You
A
know?
lot of
I
maintenance
was going
to
to
keep
say,
it
it has to
straight.
be what, every 2
I would have
days
it
on
all
a chair.
crooked and stuff, and I'd go in and
Yeah,
fix
you
it
can't
up.
do that. Somebody.
And then when I was Godfather, I think I got home on Tuesday. I was home Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if we had to wrestle in New York on Friday, I had to leave Vegas on Thursday night.
Right.
So on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, I would have my hair braided. And my hair had it permed. And once a month, they'd perm it because it was so long. And I'd braid it every Wednesday.
wow.
Unbelievable.
And you guys grinded. I mean, you were on the road. How many times? 365 a year.
I would say at least 300 days a year.
That's what I mean. I mean, they
Double
think you
shots,
just
and yeah.
wrestle here and that's it. No,
It's not like that
No.
anymore. And even though this is the only thing I say about modern wrestling, it's not bad or good, but because they do so much more acrobatic moves today than we did, but we did a lot more days.
Right.
And I'm like, and I look at these young cats doing shit today, and I'm like, even though they're not doing house shows every day,
Right.
these moves that they're doing, when they turn 50 or 60, they're
Eric
going to
Jones.
remember them.
What's the
Yeah.
longevity of doing
Because
this?
I feel every table, every chair, I remember, I'm 63 right now. I remember when I was like 45, I'm like, wrestling didn't do nothing to me. Well, it did.
Right.
And so,
At least you
God
didn't
bless 'em.
feel it at 45. I mean, that's pretty
No,
good.
no.
That's pretty good. But like, yeah, I mean, your era of wrestling, there was only a few high flyers and stuff at the time, right?
Right.
I mean, that was just
It was
kind
more
of
punch and kick, and
punch and kick it. But
now
this-
it's one big high spot.
yeah, but I feel like the storylines were always locked in. There was always good, like rivalries. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, there was.
You know
just
what was
classic-
good about those times?
What?
Is from the first match to the last match, they had angles.
Yeah.
And they don't do that now. And now it's just the top 2 or 3 guys. But back then, even the first match was Paul Diamond against somebody, and it was an angle. Mm-hmm. And they don't do that anymore. Maybe because people don't care.
And I feel like it wasn't like it wasn't as like over explained. Like you just did.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a little over explained sometimes with the talking. Like I liked was it maybe when you wrestled Vader? I'm sure it's happened a few times where like you presented the hose to him, and he ended up taking him. You can watch this on YouTube. By the way. It's pretty great.
It is a good spot.
It's
I
a
know
good,
you're
yeah.
going.
And he ends up what's his name comes up and like beats him up, and then you end up leaving with the hose anyway.
Bart
Even
gun.
though he took
Bart
it.
gun.
Yeah, and I like that's great. Like I think that's hilarious, and like it happened. You didn't have to be like, well, I'm leaving with the hose now. You just left with the hose.
They wanted me just for the entertainment factor. And it wasn't about wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like what I did with, once again, Taker, and I asked him, I know you like hoes. It was just things to get me on TV without getting me beat and
Yeah.
then be gone.
Now was he close to breaking there because that was hilarious.
Oh, he was this close.
Yeah.
But I would make him break in the house shows. He was this close. And the thing is, he's my boy, and he's like,
So
and
he would
tells-
break in house shows.
He tells the story like, oh, I'm wrestling Godfather tonight. Cool. I know he'll take care of me. And I'm like, man, yeah, you wait. And I get out there and did that. He had no idea that I was going to say that to him. And I told him, I'm like, hey, man, I've known you a long time. And this is Undertaker. And I'm like, I know you like hoes. And he just looks at me like this. And if you really listen to the video, you hear Paul Bearer go, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he's just looking at me. Then finally he had enough. But once he attacked me, I reeled out and somebody else came out. So it was just a thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, you son of a bitch. And I thought Vince was going to be mad at me, but Vince thought it was funny.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, because he essentially didn't break, but you could like almost see
Oh,
it
he's
on
like-
his face. So you could tell like he was like in his eyes for a split second. He was like, oh shit.
Dude, how many people are going to tell Undertaker, I know you like hoes?
Yeah, right. Like, nobody's messing with him like that. You're the only one busting his chops,
right.
and you were friends with him in real life, so it worked
worked
like
out.
a charm. You
Yeah.
know?
Anybody have any questions? We get any face or YouTube questions? He left. I
Where'd
guess.
Ronnie go?
Where'd Ronnie go? I guess we don't. You guys got questions out there in the audience?
It's going, they don't know.
Oh, you're just
Damn,
like
we didn't know
listening.
it's
You're
gonna go this
listening to us.
far.
That's okay.
Yeah, they're into it. You
I
know,
love
think
it.
they're
That's a
enjoying
good. He's a good
I got one,
storyteller.
a little one. Who was the toughest guy you think you
Oh,
wrestled?
what do you mean by tough?
No? Like,
I mean,
I
tell you,
let's
people
say
always.
hard to get along with. Let's say
I
the
had no,
guy-
I got along with everybody.
everybody. Okay.
And people talk about toughness. I say the baddest dude is probably Brock.
Okay.
What's tough? I mean, Cactus Jack, Mankind couldn't fight his way out of this room.
No kidding.
Okay? But he'll do things in the wrestling ring that I won't do.
Right.
So does that make him tougher
Yeah,
than
he
me?
put his body out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do none of the things he
Right.
did. So does that make me tougher than him or him tougher than me?
Oh,
Would
gotcha.
would he fight in a bar like me? No. Would I fight in a bar? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But who's tougher?
Right.
Could I go through the top of a cake? No. Could I? No.
It's
Tackle on the
it's very
back, all that
subjective.
Yeah, so I mean, what do you mean by tough?
Yeah.
I mean, the best fighter would probably be Brock. I never faced him, but
He fought in UFC as well.
I
so,
mean,
Yeah.
he's a shooter, so you know, it's like the what was it called, brawl for all. I mean, we ain't fighters. We're just tough guys.
yeah.
And I was going to bring that up. So
Well, bring it up.
let's bring that up. And me and my wife Penny, we're the era fans of the 90s. That's when our big heyday. So how much of that was we're going to put you guys out there, we're going to see if you can box, or how much of it was choreographed? Is it really truly? There's a lot of stories about it.
That was the
Bruce-
boxing match.
yeah.
That was me.
Bruce Pritchard called me and said, "Hey, Charles or Bear, whatever he calls me, he says, we're gonna do this thing where and we pay $5,000 if you go into it, $10,000 if you win, and $150,000 if you win the whole thing." And he goes, "You in?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in." Okay, my problem, my problem is I wish I would have took it more serious. And I literally thought just being the bear that I could kick Shamrock's ass and I could kick anybody's ass as it was.
Yeah.
Okay? And when I fought Bart, I wish I would have took it more serious. And I wish, because we had plenty of notice, that when I was home, I was in the gym and hitting the boxing and training, which I was doing none of that. I wish I would have done all that. Why I didn't, I don't know. My wife blames it on this. But I just really thought that there was, I really thought I was the toughest son of a bitch in the world.
Yeah, I mean, well.
And so I never thought, and then I got out there, and you would think that somebody that's knocked 3 or 4 people out, that you'd be serious about it. And I remember telling Billy Gunn's like, he's going to be very careful, he's going to knock you out. And I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, when I fought Dan Severin, I'm smoking a joint, and you're wrapping my hands. I swear to God. So, and I'm not blaming it on cannabis. I'm just saying, if I could go back, I wish I would have took it more serious, and I think I would have had a better chance.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you that's what you were doing.
Not taking anything away from Bart. Not taking anything away from Bart. He's a tough motherfucker. But later on in life, I was with Gilbert, not Goldberg, Gilbert, Dwayne Gill.
Dwayne, yeah.
And what's his name? The fighter that we're fighting.
Who? And what?
You don't even know.
Who did Bart fight against?
The Butterbean?
Butterbean.
Butterbean.
So we're in a room, me,
Butterbean.
Butterbean, and Gilbert in a room, and we're talking, and Butterbean says, I told Vince that you guys are tough guys, which I understand. He goes, but you're not professional boxers. And he was fighting Bart next. He goes, I told Vince that I'll knock this kid out as fast as I want to knock him out.
Yeah.
You might be a tough guy, but I've had 122 professional fights. I'm going to kill this kid. And he did.
Do you really think that's what, and I know it's a different career, but is that what killed Bart Gunn? Because he just disappeared.
They didn't. With Bart, nice guy. He couldn't talk. He wasn't good on the mic. He didn't have a lot of charisma. They had no plans for him. And when he won that, they didn't expect him to win that. I know a lot of people say Dr. Death, but none of us thought Dr. Death, Steve Williams. He was like 50 years old at the time. Nobody thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
But nobody thought Bart was going to win. And so they had no plans for him.
Yeah. And if they don't, then you're out of storylines.
In fact, he messed up a lot of plans.
Well, he mentioned the Vader. That was one of the scenes that he was involved in that storyline. But it never went anywhere. I mean, you had what Vader took the hose, and Bart was supposed to do an angle with, and I think he attacked you after that match, and nothing ever came out of it. It was just like the storyline was over.
Pimpin' ain't easy.
In that era, that's what made wrestling was there was always an angle, there was always a storyline. There was something that would hook you and then move on. It's like now it seems like this wrestling is, for example, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre have literally fought each other a dozen of times.
Over a bracelet.
Over the storylines run out. But then in that era, your era, there was a story to be told. You had the match, and then we moved on. So walk us through, like, what did you have involvement in some of these storylines? Were you involved in the development of it?
I was involved in a lot with the Godfather, but that's it. The other ones I didn't have much say. I just followed, but I had a lot of say in the Godfather.
So maybe you can answer this. Maybe you can't, Bear, because we know each other for a while. Is there any storylines of the Godfather that you said absolutely not? I'm not going to do that.
No.
Fair enough.
No,
that's a worker.
I said I work around even China. I mean, I'll work around anything you give me. No, not at all.
Yeah. Another one of my fond memories was the 25th Raw anniversary when you came back. And they tried to say that you've turned over your leave. Was that improv? Walk us through that
I got
scenario.
the TV, and Vince is like, I can't put you on TV because I don't want these people chanting, where's the hose? We want hose. He said, so we're going to marry you off. And that was not my wife. That was a friend of Kurt Angle's wife. And we're going to marry you off and just say that you're no longer a pimp, that you're just this and that, so we can use you. And then I'm like, well, why did you just use my wife is beautiful. And I'm like, well, why didn't you all just use my wife? And he said, well, we just came up with this at the last minute. And so, yeah. I think I did something with Mark Henry or something.
You did,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they just wanted me on TV.
Which
wanted that pop.
You would drool. Which another one of mine is when you came back for the last Royal Rumble. The pop was the crowd went berserk when you, and then 3 different times you stopped and brought more hosts out. That was probably one of the best highlights of your. I mean, it was that. Can you remember that day? Can you walk us through that all out?
That's where I had a bunch of hoes. I thought you were talking about something else.
The Royal Rumble, you came back, and I think that was.
I came back on a couple of Royal
Yeah, this
Rumbles.
was
I came back
the
on
first-
one
the
where I
first
was
one you
eliminated
came
as soon as I
back.
got in.
Yeah. But you stopped 3 different times, and then it was the announcers were joking because is he ever going to get in the ring? Because you get three different times you brought more girls out.
They were interested in the entrance, and Vince is like, "Hey Charles, I got 20 hoes for you, and I want you to bring 5 out, go back, bring 5 back, come back and bring 5 back." They didn't give a shit about that. I don't even know if I ever got in the ring.
Well, the pop was huge.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the
That's
largest.
all he
And that's
wanted.
another YouTube. If you haven't seen it, YouTube it
He
because
just
it's
wanted
amazing.
the pop.
It's amazing.
Later on, I did a WrestleMania or Royal Rumble where I came out, and I think Heath Slater drop kicks me as soon as I get in. And I had my youngest son with me, and I'm like, boy, when I get in there, watch what I do. I'm going to be just tatering motherfuckers. I'm going to be fucking, until it's my time to go, I'm going to be just lacing people. And Vince looked at me, he goes, "Charles, do you really think I'm going to let you get in there and do that?" He goes, "All I want is the pop." He goes, "I'm going to have you go out. I'm going to play your music the whole time. When you get in, I'm going to have somebody drop kick you out." He goes, "Land on your feet like it's no big thing. And just go, 'Hey, I was here to party,' and move on." He goes, "We will play your music the whole time." And I'm like, "You're not going to let me get in the ring?" He goes, "No, I'm not. I know you." He goes, "I know what you're going to do." And believe me, dude, I would have went out there just tatering people. They would have been like, they would have had to want to fight me because I was just going to just start knocking people, just tatering people.
Well, what experience was to have your son that actually got to see his dad perform?
Yeah.
And that had to have been an experience of a lifetime.
They've all seen it before, but yeah. And he was more like, "Yeah, why didn't they let you do anything?"
It's always they're always under.
I'm like, "Yeah, they're hating on me, man. They know what I'm going to do if
That's
I
how
get in
kids
there."
are. I mean, you know, they're always going to be your toughest critics. I feel like.
He was there for the whole thing and what they were explaining, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I wish I could get in there, but if I go in there and do more, they're not going to pay me what they say they're going to pay me."
Right. Yeah.
And it was a hell of a payday.
You had to be careful.
One thing about the WWE, they've always paid me well.
Yeah. I mean, just your Legends contract alone is really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, and it's, you know, being that, you know, your gimmick, not your gimmick, I mean, your character isn't like, you know, nowadays with the PG rating it's harder to, you know, come and do the whole thing.
Right.
But like now that it's coming to Netflix, there's maybe some possibilities you're going to be getting some phone calls about, you know, maybe.
I would say, not knowing anything, that they're going to be calling me pretty soon.
Yeah.
Especially I've gotten in better shape, so.
Yeah.
I see them calling me something and me coming out. I'm not going to wrestle. I refuse to wrestle. They want me to wrestle in the, what's it called? The Andre the Giant.
No,
Battle Royal.
They wanted this year for me to come out and might not get the order right. I think they wanted me to come out as Kama. And then they wanted me to get eliminated, come back out as Godfather. And then come back out as the end and win the whole thing as Papa Shango. And like the lights go out and I'm standing in the middle of the ring with fire and everybody else is on the outside. You know what I told them?
What?
No. No.
That
You
ship
know
has
why?
sailed.
Why?
Because I know if I go out there 3 times and get in the ring, I'm going to do something stupid that's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
I have replaced 2 knees and a hip. And I'm not looking to get
Well, at least you
hurt.
know your limits. You
Yeah, I know
what
my
you can
limits,
do
and I
you
know
can't
if I
do.
get out there, I'm going to do some stupid shit,
Yeah.
and I'm going to get hurt. And
Yeah.
is it worth it?
Right. Right. No, I mean.
But that's the only reason I won't do it, because I'm like, no, Vince, no. It's not even Vince anymore.
Right.
But
You have to be one of the people, like, out of all the wrestlers in WWE history that said no the most, probably, huh? I mean, I feel
I
like,
said no a lot.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about that. That's pretty awesome.
I said no a lot when I wasn't wrestling.
Yeah,
I didn't say no when I was wrestling. I'd
Gotcha.
say, all right, I'll do the best I can.
sure.
Even with RTC. But if I was at home, I'd be like, okay, wait a minute. Okay, you want me to come in with this guy, wrestle the Dudleys, go through a table every night for 3 months, or I could sit here and look at naked women all day and not do anything and make money.
That's a tough choice.
He's like, Charles, I know that, Charles,
like,
but
yeah.
we really want you back. I'm like, no, I ain't doing that shit.
Here you guys.
Did we ever do another shot?
Yeah,
We did. We can do
you
another one.
Do you want another one?
You guys have any questions out there?
Ronnie,
Colt, you gotta have something. No?
Come on, this is
Come
time
on.
to ask.
He's open. Barry will answer whatever you guys want to ask him.
I guess not.
So, what besides Vegas, what was your favorite cities to do live events in or travel in?
Everywhere. Dude, we made the best everywhere. I mean, everywhere. We had someplace to go in every town. I don't have a favorite city, even though Montreal is.
Let's go there. Okay, let's switch. What's some of the cities you didn't like to go
There you
to?
go. Yeah.
I can't name one city I didn't
Really?
like to go
None
to.
of them. They really never.
Montreal was so cool because they had a strip club called the Gold Club, and it was wild. And they let us be wild. In
No limit.
In Detroit, they had a place called the Landing Strip, and they let us be wild. Every place, it's Taker. I mean, I'm with Taker, so he got that treatment, and I was along with it. But we had fun. We could be in Nova Scotia, Canada, and have fun, because every night we with the strip clubs.
And one thing I always know about Barry, I know titles didn't mean much. I know you had the IC championship, you had the tag team championship. Is there one that you really wish you had? No? You never wanted the brass
I didn't
one,
want the Intercontinental.
Yeah.
I said, Vince, you don't need to put this on me. I think they just wanted to put me on that and a couple other things so they can put you in the Hall of Fame, because the title meant nothing with the Godfather. I had the girls.
Yeah.
And all the title was something that the girls carried out. And so he just wanted to put it on me for a while, but it didn't mean anything because I had the girls. The girls meant more than that title.
So let's go with the girl. Where did the girls come from? Like, if you were in different cities and live events, or was that talent that would go recruit them and bring them and say, hey, these are your girls working with?
The very first time we did it, me, Taker, and the Harris boys went and got the girls. After that, Bruce Pritchard was in charge of getting the girls. And then it came to a point that it got so over that
they'd willing to do it.
they would have clubs call them and say, hey, you're going to be in our town. We'd like to supply the girls. So
you never had a show that you ran out of girls. They were always available.
I would show up. There'd be 6 or 7 girls.
You had some, correct me if I'm wrong, you had some future female Hall of Famers as
Lita,
yeah. I mean,
Victoria. Yeah, those are 2. There's a lot of girls.
That alone, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Because they had so many girls back then that could wrestle, but they had nobody to wrestle. They were doing bra and panties and all types of stuff, matches with Sable. And
boy, have times changed.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
And the girls couldn't wrestle. Well, you had Lita and girls like that could wrestle that just wanted to be on TV. So they'd go out as my girls just to be on TV.
Yeah, and it worked out for her. I mean, she ended up.
Yeah, I stay away from Lita because the worst thing is, I respect her. And the worst thing is, if I go say hi to Lita, somebody's going to say, hey, Lita, there's your pimp.
It's just like, take away from her.
So I don't respect.
That's fair.
If she's in a building, I don't go by.
I've met her briefly before, and she seems like a wonderful person.
She's a very nice person. She don't need to be disrespected.
Yeah, and that's.
So I stay away from her.
Yeah,
I don't think that's right.
Right. I mean.
In fact, she did my wife a favor because the hoes that night weren't good looking, so she got her to go on.
Oh, good. So she helped you out there.
She helped me out a couple of times because of my wife.
Wow. Nice. I mean, your wife kind of was, the whole. I mean, the reason you became.
Oh,
that
my wife
Godfather.
was on the road with me. At that point, I'd stop all the nonsense, and so she was on the road a lot. And she was in charge of the girls.
Yeah.
She would go there and prep the girls and everything.
She was like the mama matron. What do you?
She was like the bottom hoe.
Yeah.
So in creative, some of your famous catchphrases. Did you come up with those, or was that pitched to you and say, let's do the come aboard the hoe train? Was that something that...
The only thing that I did not come up with was the hoe train. And I was in the ring with Shane McMahon. We were someplace, and I was in the ring with Shane, and Shane's like, when I always splash people with every character, I'd shoot you in and splash you. He goes, before you do that splash, you remember Soul Train? I'm like, of course I remember Soul Train. He goes, why don't we call it the hoe train? And then you shoot him in, and then you wind up. And then he goes, but I remember him saying, don't leave him there too long, but you wind up, and then we're going to call it the hoe train.
That's amazing.
So that was Shane McMahon.
I have a question from online for you.
All right.
He wants to know, who is the one current wrestler you would love to get in the ring with if you could at this time?
I don't know if they've been watching this podcast,
He already kind of answered it. He
but
hasn't
I
watched
really,
it.
I'm nothing against wrestling, at all. But I don't watch it. I respect it. I've made money. I'm glad the boys are making money, but I don't watch anymore. So I couldn't even tell you who the WWE, AEW Impact Champion is. I'm sorry. But my life is very busy, and I've kind of moved on from watching wrestling. So I don't know. If I could take a guess, I don't know any names. I don't want to say the wrong name. He might be passed on and shit, and I'll be like, oh, shit, I'm stupid now. But I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Is there someone that you'd ever want to go into the ring with again, like if you could, like prime time?
I was on the plane today drinking Jack Daniels, and I was like, I was talking to Mark, and I'm like, dude, we should do something. If you ever think about it, we should do something where I go on a bunch of different platforms and talk about how I made you. And then we have some
my
type
goodness.
of angle where I'm Bear and you're Undertaker,
Yeah.
and you fight Bear, because everybody knows you and Bear are such friends. And he just laughed. He goes, let's do it. I'm like, never mind, I was just kidding.
I mean, that probably would be a huge hit, I would imagine. I mean, I feel like people would really.
If you did it right, if Vince was there, well, Triple H is cool too. I'm like, dude, we could have some fun, but I don't want to get in the ring.
Right, I mean.
And I'm not sure he wants to get in the ring.
He spent a lot of time, even in his later years, in the ring. So
he's so beat up, and he's sacrificed so much for this business that,
Well, he was loyal. Yeah, he was loyal to you. He was loyal to Glenn. He got Glenn in the business, and look how loyal
they
he's been to
fed
those
him
guys.
every big giant that couldn't work in the business he had to work with.
Yeah.
And it's taken tolls on his life. So, yeah. But that'd be cool. If Bear against American Badass.
That's like some
There you go.
self-fan fiction a little bit there. I like it. Yeah, kind
He
of.
just laughed at me. He just, let's do it. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Wrong number.
Wrong.
Wrong number.
So to get a little more, because you did mention me earlier, you have some action figures that are coming out at the end of the year in the summer. Maybe you got a good couple elite figure. You got a couple or something in London.
I have something in London. I don't know what it is, but they're making a Papa Shango thing. Elite, it's doing a Godfather and a Ultimate Warrior Papa Shango feud thing.
Wow.
Haskell Toys is doing a Kama and a Godfather. They did a Smoke Train and a Godfather. I got a bunch of stuff
Got a lot of
happening,
stuff
which is
coming
cool.
out. That's amazing. Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and like I'm a big movie buff, and like I think I remember like Harrison Ford was like the first like guy to have two different action figures. Like he had Indiana Jones,
Right.
and he had
Solo.
Han Solo. And like to think about how big a star he is. You have multiple characters as action figures.
Right.
Like I mean that's pretty
Isn't that
wild.
cool?
I mean it's pretty sweet. And as like a collector, like that for me, like that's really cool.
Dude, I think there is today, without counting what's coming on the end of the month, I think I have 18 figures.
Whew.
As Godfather, Kama Mustafa, Papa Shango. Only thing I don't think I have is a right to censor. I don't think I
You
have
do. You had one.
Oh, did I?
You actually at Google. You have 20 action figures.
Wow, there's
20.
two I don't know about.
Wow.
One's Godfather.
How about
They
that?
made one in the Dresden Sunday Night Heat. You were in it with you had to wait with the
Yeah.
black tie, and then
See, I didn't even know that one.
And then there was one that was a 2-pack with you and Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah,
so
so-
there's two that I haven't
yeah,
seen.
So
That's
Googled
why I
it, did
threw
some
18
research.
up.
Yeah, which is
I mean,
impressive. That's
Which is
that's
impressive.
You were
I mean,
close.
Stone
Yeah.
Cold would have 110, but for a mid-Carter to have 20 action figures is
I mean, have you ever walked in the store and actually seen
Yes.
the figure? What's that experience?
the last one was the Papa Shango one. There was a Papa Shango one, and I was in Walmart or Target.
The latest one.
Was it like
Yeah.
the He-Man one? Like
Yeah.
It was-
yeah,
yeah.
like the He-Man.
Yeah.
And then I seen the Kama Mustafa in Target one time. And no, I didn't buy it.
Target sometimes has some surprises.
You should have messed with it. You should have signed it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That would have
okay.
been cool.
People
Just
do
so
some
you
fun-
know,
Yeah.
I think the Papa Shango was in Walmart, and I got a pin, and there was two of them.
That's awesome.
And I signed them.
No, that's
But
awesome.
I never heard. They probably thought somebody did it.
Right.
But I actually
That's
signed
cool.
Unreal.
Wow.
them. And I don't know who got them, but they probably
How
thought
about if
somebody
you're
did
at the
sign
checkout?
them.
Well, it don't matter if you're at the checkout counter because nobody works there anyway now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Checking on himself.
Yeah,
We got a
okay,
question.
yeah.
We got a question.
I was going to ask you about when they developed the action figures. How involved were you, and what was some of that process? Did they take pictures? with
You
you
get in
there?
front of a green screen, and they take a bunch of pictures of
Different
you,
angles.
but that's it.
Okay.
And they still use those pictures of me from 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I think they use the same bodies on a lot of people. They just change tattoos and colors.
I'm the same thing on the video games, I'm assuming, because you're still involved.
Well, I hope so. I haven't been in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but when
Boogeyman's taking. Well, Godfather is no longer allowed in the video game because of
Because of
being
the
a pimp
character.
and the host. But Papa Shango is. But Boogeyman has kind of got that spot right now.
and he's
Yeah.
popping up a lot.
Yeah. So
Good question.
good question. Hopefully, Papa gets back in there.
So there's no way of playing with you on like the new 2K24 at all. Okay.
25, I don't know. I hear Papa Shango has a chance.
Nice. Okay.
But to his point, going to Netflix, that might change a lot of things because
I
I don't know
would
if you
not-
heard Triple H. He made it very clear that it's gonna be Raw's not gonna have a rating.
I have. They're going to call me.
Yeah.
They're going to call me.
Yeah.
And just, I have to agree with what they want to do, and I'm not looking to do no long-term anything. I'm looking to do a one-time show up and
Just imagine
I'm
the
gone.
experience of the pop's gonna go nuts because it's been how long has it been since you've been on?
20
The
years,
the
20,
25th anniversary, right? It's the
20,
last one.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
21, 22 years ago.
yeah. It's overdue.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look the same as you did 20 years ago, so, and you're.
Tinker tells me, he goes, I hate you. I'm like, why? He goes,
know,
you look younger now than you did when I met you.
It's some form of fountain of youth is working out
Hey.
for you.
I'll take it, whatever it is. I don't know what I think it's cannabis.
It could be. It could be. It
But,
keeps you relaxed.
definitely not Jack Daniels.
I watched a few
Yeah, that
interviews
doesn't help.
with you also, and you have changed a lot. You said, like with the diet, with the everything that you
Yes.
eat and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so that's got to contribute to it as well.
When I wrestled, I was 300, 320. I'm down to 245, 250 now.
Okay.
That's lean for your size.
I only drink Jack Daniels when I'm on the road on the weekends, on the planes and here. I don't drink at home. I eat very little. I have 2 meals a day. I don't eat till 10 in the morning. I stop eating at 5 at night. No sweets, no sugar. I keep my carbs down. And that's why when I do these things, I have a little fun and drink.
I mean,
But,
like I said, I watched it on.
you know,
I said he's a
yeah.
plus eater. We got to get him some food.
I'm gonna
but I
get
don't
up-
know what they get.
I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, chicken and rice.
Right.
I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and feel guilty and do an hour, hour and a half of cardio.
He said he's ready for another shot.
Yeah. We got it. Here it is.
Ready.
Dude, you're talking to the wrong person if you think I'm afraid of a shot.
Yeah. Definitely not.
Unfortunately, this shit goes down like water.
Here. It does.
Well, it is apple juice.
That's not a good thing.
It's apple juice.
Yeah.
It is pumpkin cider. Let's just go that way. It's that time.
Yeah.
What'd y'all do for Halloween?
Actually, tomorrow is our Halloween. Our town's kind of lame. They
What?
don't do Halloween on Halloween.
We don't.
So
we already have.
I
Halloween.
I'm
He's
in
an
Ohio.
Ohio guy.
I'm still in
We're
Ohio.
PA.
So my wife's probably watching, but they're doing Halloween tomorrow. So they're doing.
Who's your wife?
Penny Smith. She's a huge wrestling
Okay,
fan.
not Erica.
No, Erica is. That's his.
That's my
Erica's my
girlfriend.
new favorite
There,
person.
there you go.
That's
John might have a
Erica's
I'm in
to the
competition.
trouble
point.
now.
Your wife said choose.
Absolutely. All right, there we
Hello,
go.
his wife.
Penny.
But
She's a
Penny,
huge wrestler.
hello,
She's a big
Penny.
fan of yours too. But
Hello, Penny. How are you?
it's
But
a good
Erica's
entertaining.
picking me up tomorrow,
Here you go.
and I'm gonna get her.
So I'm going to
to
put you on the spot because I think since we have a live audience here,
put me on the spot.
can we do a Papa Shango voice? Can we do a Kama voice? And can we do the Godfather?
I don't know what a comma voice is,
Whatever you think you can come up
but
with.
I could do. I mean,
Whatever you can
Godfather's
come up
just
with.
me. I can
His
do a
Papa Shango.
I'll do a Papa Shango.
It'll
right?
take you
Instead of
back.
Papa Shango.
And it's weird, but it's weird because, like I said, when I became Papa Shango, when I got into it, was a dark thing. And when I had the face paint, if I was wrestling you, I wouldn't even talk. Once I put my face on, I'm in the corner just like this, and I wouldn't talk to anybody, no matter what. If you want to talk to me, I wouldn't talk to you. So Papa Shango, MCCONNELL. Ultimate warrior, beware. Beware of voodoo. Beware of Papa Shango.
Oh, come on. Does that not bring you back? That's like walking through the time zone there.
That was awesome. Like, so, I mean, obviously, like, that was, you know, the character you played yourself, like, mostly as the Godfather. So, like, I mean, what did you have more fun with one or the other, or are they pretty equal?
Godfather was me, not saying I'm a pimp, even though I owned the strip
You're as
club.
close as it gets without being.
Well, I wasn't on the street.
Right, no, you were.
But I ain't gonna say I didn't hook up a lot of friends. But Godfather is me, my personality, my sayings, my everything, and the others weren't. And all Papa Shango is me being me.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me, all Godfather is me being my big high-ass self.
Yeah, and that's just the funnest thing to do.
Yes, especially as I've gotten older, yes.
And you get to, not many people get to say they get paid to be themselves.
Stone Cold.
Stone
you
Cold,
know?
yeah.
And I always say, dude, Ric Flair, I might not be at that level, but I was lucky enough to be myself.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, so what's next for the Godfather? Do we have any big plans moving forward?
No.
What's next for the Godfather? He's actually going to be at the elected show.
In the literal, like in the really near future, you'll be doing something. Yeah.
I'm going to be at the first annual Lawrence County Collectibles event, November 2nd from 10 to 3 at 27 North Liberty Street, St. Margaret's Mutual Benefit Society. And I'm going to be there, it looks at 9. I'm not getting picked up till 9:30, so how the hell can I be there at 9?
No, that's a pre-early. There's a collector
you don't
show
have to
going
be
on
there
before
yet.
you're there.
Well,
So
then
you're-
the
But I'll be
Your
there
appearance is at 10.
shortly after that, and we'll have some fun.
Surely.
We'll take some pictures, tell some stories, I'll tell some lies. We'll have some
That's
fun.
that's all.
So I think this is a
we
good
call it talking shit.
good segue to end this. I want you to. We're gonna do the Godfather. He's your opponent. Can you convince him not to fight you tonight, but to take the hose?
With
Get
my
ready for
wife,
this.
with
If you have
with
not
my
seen-
wife watching.
If you have not seen this,
I
get
love you,
ready.
Cassie.
This is
You know.
here we go.
Cassie, this is just pretend.
yeah.
Now listen, brother. I know you, you know me. I know what type of degenerate you are. I know what type of nasty, low-down hoes you like. And right now, in the back, in a limo, I got 3 of the nasty hoes you ever want to see. Now, knowing that, and knowing me, you know I'm going to kick your ass anyway. So why don't you take the hose and have a good time?
Sorry. I'm gonna take the hose.
Good choice.
Well, this has been surreal and amazing and beautiful. I think we can say
Actually,
like,
before we segue, we got to hear it. Can we hear it? Let's
Okay.
Can we hear get aboard? Here we go. You guys got to do it with them though.
It's time, once again, for everybody to come aboard the... Oh, let me look around. Is there any pimps up in this house? Well, to all y'all that know that the Godfather be pimping hoes nationwide, I want you to roll a fatty for this pimp daddy. You light that blood up and say, pimpin' ain't easy.
Let's hear it.
It ain't easy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This is Giantman Comics with the legend, WWE Hall of Famer himself, the Godfather. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great night. See you tomorrow at Collectors Con, 10 o'clock, 9 a.m. early bird. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.